Hey guys, sorry it took so long to get this next review out. Netflix took a while to get the DVD for this movie to get in, probably because they took a Thanksgiving break. No joke. Farewell to Arms, starring Academy Award winner Helen Hayes, who previously won the Academy Award for Best Actress for the movie The Sin of Madelon Claudet. I didn't see that movie because Netflix didn't have it on DVD or streaming, and since it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, I wasn't compelled to see it. It also starred Gary Cooper, a younger Gary Cooper than what we're known for seeing him in, such as High Noon, Sergeant York, and other stuff. I've seen him in one previous film while doing this. It was the first Best Picture winner, Wings, which also takes place in World War I, as well as this movie. A Farewell to Arms is based on a novel by Ernest Hemmingway. He's one of those authors you learn about in high school English class, one of those lost generation type authors, kind of like F. Scott Fitzgerald. This movie takes place in World War I. It takes place in Italy. Gary Cooper plays an American soldier by the name of Lieutenant Frederick Henry. He is a medic. He drives ambulances. That's what he does. He's a medic. He helps people when they're injured get to the hospital. While he's hanging out at one of these hospitals, he meets a nurse by the name of Catherine Barkley, played by Helen Hayes. And you know how in movies, you just kind of have to accept that when two people meet each other and they start kissing on that same day, they fell in love. You know, they just clicked. And you kind of have to accept it with these sort of golden age Hollywood type movies. But that's what happens. They clicked. They start making out, and they realize there's this question that comes to mind. Oh, is this just a one-day fling, or is this something more? Are you actually going to come back and visit me in the hospital? And he does. He comes back a few times and reaffirms his affection for her. And then one day he gets injured while in the midst of battle, and he returns to a hospital that she happens to be working at. And the two, they're together, and there's this one scene where they actually do get married, and kind of an interesting way they get married because the chaplain, I guess you could say the troop chaplain or something like that, sort of the priest or reverend of their war group, he sees them together, realizes that they are truly in love with one another, and he kind of mutters this Italian wedding prayer, thus marrying them. And it's kind of an important part of the movie. It's sort of one of those, oh, that's cute, that's really sweet kind of moments. One of the underlying themes of this movie is that the two are in love. He's not just some random handsome guy. He drinks periodically, but he has her now. She gives him kind of a new reason to kind of survive the war, and ultimately, as the movie's climax comes up, he has to go find her. He wants to find her and just desert the war and just get away from everything and be together with her. Another interesting thing about this movie is that you can call it kind of a pre-code film. There's a few moments that kind of allude to sex or seduction. And it makes sense because this is done by Frank Borzage, the director of this movie. He directed the movie Bad Girl, which that is definitely a pre-code film. And he won an Academy Award for that. He also won an Academy Award for doing Seventh Heaven. It's not really what you would call a pre-code film, but it's still like a romantic movie that happens to take place in World War I. Strangely enough, Frank Borzage was not nominated for Best Director again. Also, another thing that was strange, none of the actors got nominated. Helen Hayes didn't get another nomination. Gary Cooper didn't get a nomination for these roles. I think it might have something to do with the fact that during this time, with every single category, with the exception of Best Picture and Best Sound Recording and Best Assistant Director, with those three categories aside for some odd reason, every other category only had a limit to 3 nominations. Not 5 like they normally do nowadays, but it was 3 back then. So the 3 that were nominated were Frank Lloyd, Frank Capra, and George Cukor for Cavalcade, Lady for a Day, and Little Women. Frank Borzage must have been like one vote off or something to get a nomination. But this movie did win 2 other awards. It did win Best Sound Recording, which I thought was pretty good because it had a bunch of the war sounds, it had a bunch of the booms, it had a very good score for its time. Cinematography was pretty well done. It took me a little longer to call sort of BS on any of the shots, thinking, oh, this is just a studio. I mean, of course, I could tell certain moments that they were in a studio, but I thought the scenery was good for what it was for its time. It was also nominated for Best Art Direction and Best Picture. It didn't win either. It actually lost both of those to the same movie, Cavalcade, which I plan to see in a bit. But other than that, I found this movie to be really enjoyable. Other people that have read Ernest Hemingway have been known to say, oh, no, the book is way better, this movie only scrubs over a few parts, but I understand where they're coming from. I felt that way with a couple of the Harry Potter movies and a bunch of other movies based on books, but other than that, for a person that's just watching the movie, and just watching the movie has no really immediate plans to read the book, this is an enjoyable movie. I felt that this is great, and I made sense that it was nominated for Best Picture of the Year. I'm wondering what Cavalcade had that beat it. But other than that, I would surely give this movie a 4-star rating. From director Frank Borzage, Helen Hayes, and Gary Cooper, all 3 put their efforts to make a great movie that's still great to this day. A farewell to arms. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.